Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be making an autumn themed greetings card, and I'm going to be using some watercolours, some markers, we've got some digital stamps. We're going to have a lot of fun and make a lovely autumnal orange and red themed card. So the first thing that I have here is a craft envelope and a card base, and I've cut this card base myself from 300-gram watercolour paper, and the watercolour paper I'm using is from Artzea. It's a premium watercolour paper. It comes in these 32 sheet pads. It's 300 grams and you get 32 sheets. It's very reasonable and it's very good for card making and watercolouring in general. It's a very good watercolour paper. And I'm going to use that as my card base, and I've got a craft envelope to match. I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the card base to a board, and this is an old board off an old pad of paper. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can watercolour, and then at the end of when the watercolour is all dry, I have a nice white border all the way around my watercolouring. And so what I have here to mask it off is some washi tape. You could use any sort of tape you want. Masking tape is what I normally use, but I've just run out, so I have to use some of this washi tape here. I'm now going to grab a couple of brushes. I have a few paint brushes, and then I have the watercolours. And the watercolours that I'm using are the Mozart Komorebi Watercolor Paint Set, and these are actually Japanese watercolours. And again, these are very reasonable too. I'll leave some links in the description box if you want to check any of these supplies out, but you can see they come with lots of lovely colours. In particular, they have some very nice sort of autumnal colours, and these are the ones I'm going to be using. So what I'm going to do is I have some water in a cup just slightly off camera. I'm just going to take some water and wet the paper. And I'm just using this sort of fan brush. I'm not too picky about which brushes I use, I just grab the one that's nearest and that will do the job. And then I'm going to wet another brush and put it into my colours. So I'm going to use some of this orange. So the nice thing about these paints is that the pigment comes up really quickly. You don't have to, sometimes with watercolours you have to scrub at them a bit if you want a really dark colour, but the pigment comes straight up. So I really like that about them, and I also like the strength of colour. So as you can see, I'm just sort of dabbing wet into wet with this, and I'm not really worrying about where stuff is going. I'm just dabbing in some different browns and oranges, and I want a really abstract sort of look in the background. And I'm going to take a little bit of olive green, add a little bit of that into there. And you can do this sort of technique, this sort of effect, with any type of colour combination. You can make a nice galaxy if you wanted to. You could make a sort of a snowy winter theme, and it's a really nice and easy way of making a quick background for a card. And if you want to move the colours about a bit, you can always grab some water in a little spritzer bottle and just sort of spray it, and that will help the colours move even more. And I'm going to add a little bit more orange in, and you can just keep on adding colours, because as you do this, you'll see the colours shift, and you'll be able to sort of make sort of judgments about whether or not you need a bit of extra green up in one corner or whatever, because the colours will begin to move together a little bit. So now that is pretty much how I want it, I'm actually also going to add, and this is where this particular paint set is particularly good. It has these these 8 different metallic colours, and I'm going to grab a little bit of this gold, and I'm actually going to dip a little bit of the gold into that background, and that will give it a lovely shimmer when it's held up to the light. Not a lot, but just enough to kind of give it a little bit of a shimmer. And as I'm at it, I'm going to also add some of the bronze colour. So this is partially dry, and I just want to add a few extra colours, a little bit more of the colours back into it a little bit. And it's one of the things that I like to do, is partially dry it so it's almost dry but still damp enough that you can drop a few extra colours in just to add a little bit more interest to the background. So this is now all dry, and I don't know if you can see that, but you can really see the gold paint there, and it really glistens in the light. Hopefully I'll try to get a closer up shot of it later on so you can see that. I'm just going to carefully pull up the washi tape, and I find that if you pull it at an angle, so don't pull it like that, but pull it to the side like this, then that really helps to take up the washi tape, and it helps to minimize any paper tearing. Come off nice and clean, and no paper tearing at all. So there, and hopefully you can see that nice glistening gold effect. So there we have our lovely background and the nice white border, and I find the white border for these sorts of cards are very important. So now let's move on to looking at the rest of the little images we're going to put on the card. So I have some digital stamps here, and these are from the Autumn Walk stamp set, and this stamp set is available in my Etsy shop, and it's got 12 different autumnal designs, basically sorts of things that you'd find if you went for a walk in the countryside or in the woods. The coffee mug is obviously something you'd bring with you rather than something you'd find, but there are pumpkins, acorns, some sort of like toffee apples that you might make over the campfire, or sort of autumn themed things, a log, a scarf, a bouquet of leaves, and some different mushrooms and toadstools. And they come in bigger sizes and smaller sizes, so we can choose what we want for our card. And I was thinking we might use some of these nice mushrooms here. You can play around with the different elements, but what I'm going to do is, because we've got this gorgeous background, I'd like quite a lot of the background to show through, especially as it's so sparkly, and I quite like for this card to have it not minimalistic, but a little bit more simplistic in the design. So I'm going to colour in these mushrooms, and I think I'm going to colour them in orange, orange and green, to sort of complement the background. Now obviously I don't know whether or not mushrooms like this would be orange and green in reality, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm using some alcohol-based markers. These are Copics, but I also have some Winsor & Newton. You can use whatever you like. So once the colouring's all completed, I can go ahead and use a white paint pen. This is the Uni Posca paint pen, and it's my favourite. It's the most opaque white paint pen that I've ever used. I personally think it's better than a gel pen, but of course you use what you like, and you can use it to kind of touch up if you've gone outside of the lines, you know, because these are quite small images to colour. And I've gone outside of the lines in several places, so I can just use that to touch up. Now I want to place it about there on the card, but I'm going to fussy cut it out, but I'm not going to cut all the way to the edge. I'm going to kind of give it a little white border all the way around. So there we go, and that can go on the edge of the card like that. And I think that looks really nice. It's pretty simplistic, but I think it really it just really helps to complement the background. And I have a few other little bits that I could put on the card. I've got some ribbon, some orange, and some kind of olive green. Again, it's very close to the marker colours that we used. And then I have some different sentiments, and these sentiments actually came from a sheet of pattern paper, and I used this in another tutorial a few weeks back. I think this is from American Crafts. Oh, here it is. This is Give Thanks paper from American Crafts. I bought this several years ago, so I doubt if it's still around, but it's full of all these different sentiments. So you've got Fall Harvest, Season's Greetings, Give Thanks, so thankful for you, things like that. And I've cut a few of them out because they really suit the colour scheme of the card, because they're those muted orange, browns and reds. With ribbons, I often like to lay them horizontal, but in this case I think I might actually put them vertical. So I might sort of layer them up one over the other like this. You could use hot glue for this. You could use any sort of glue that you have. You could use tacky glue. I have a Pritt stick here, and this Pritt stick is pretty good, and I'm just going to use that because it's what I have out. And then I take the orange ribbon and place it just sort of layering, coming over like so, and press it down. Now I'll just trim off these ends a little bit, and now I have these ends. So I could fold them inside like this, and I think this is what I'll do. I'm going to put some glue down and I'm going to fold both of these ribbons in, and I'll place and I'll cover up the ends of the ribbons in a moment. And a tip when you're gluing the ribbon, if I have a little bit of scrap paper here, I can glue like that, then fold it over, and I don't get glue on my table, because you don't want to get lots of sticky glue all over your table. That's a nightmare to clean. So just attach those ribbons like that, and I'll grab maybe some scraps. I have some different pattern paper scraps here. I could easily run a nice strip of pattern paper down the inside, but I'll do that in a moment. I'll just finish the outside. So there we have our ribbon, and there the mushrooms. You want to press it down nice and hard to make sure that it all gets glued. And now, so we have that, and then I can put the little sentiment. And what's nice about a card like this is that there's a lot of room, so you can put sentiments anywhere, because it's quite simple and you've got that lovely background that you want to show. I think I'll just put Season's Greetings, and I'll put it up there, but it could go down there, it could go anywhere, but I'm going to put Season's Greetings. And now we just got to finish off that inside bit. So I have a couple of strips here. This is that same paper that the sentiments came from, and this is the other side of it. I could put that like that. That covers up the ribbons and provides a nice little bit of extra interest on the inside. You could always go ahead and add in some extra embellishments if you like, but I actually really like how simple that is. And if you can see against the light there, that gold paint looks absolutely lovely. It's not like a glitter, like it's metallic looking, but it's not over glittery. That's how we made that little card. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave any questions you have down in the comments below, and let me know what you think, and I'll see you all next time.